We're actually on the verge here of billionaires doubling their Bitcoin positions. Yes, you heard that right. Wow, we're seeing massive Bitcoin purchases from new companies that are now piling in. Eric Trump is making a huge statement about Bitcoin. Donald Trump wants to hand out helicopter money again. That means money printer go BRR. The printing press is about to go into overdrive. And we have billionaire Robert Kiyosaki, who is now saying that he's about to double his Bitcoin position. Just take that in for a second. Billionaires want to double their Bitcoin positions here. And he says the lower the Bitcoin price, the more he's going to pour into Bitcoin. We're seeing reports about the global debt explosion, which is now in full swing. And Lynn Alden, who clearly explains here why Bitcoin is superior to gold and why Bitcoin could reach a market cap of 20 trillion. So will it almost increase tenfold? 1 million US dollars, Bitcoin prices and more are possible here. Before we take a closer look at all of this. But first, hit the like button below for higher Bitcoin prices, for the bullish Bitcoin glasses, which, by the way, I actually swiped from my godchild. Let's fucking go. First of all, we can see that the Bitcoin price has stabilized a bit again, after we were still selling off over the weekend. We can see here now that Bitcoin is trading just below 115,000 US dollars, which means we're seeing a small recovery, and we've seen this happen time and again in the past. In the past few weeks, there was a drop of 3, 4, 5%, and then it slowly recovered until it was back to where it was before. Then it broke through, even reaching new all-time highs at times, until there was another small pullback. So we're seeing this pattern repeat itself over and over again right now. And the crazy thing is, right now we're seeing something completely new. There are new Bitcoin treasury companies here in Japan. They've actually just announced themselves here. Or they're called Convano, which I've never heard of before. They've actually bought 21,000 Bitcoin here for 2.5 billion US dollars. And that's especially wild, because for example, we have Metaplanet here, and just check this out. They're buying like crazy. They just bought another 463 Bitcoin, but they're only at about 17,000 Bitcoin right now. I mean, the new company hasn't actually bought the Bitcoin yet. It's just been announced here that they're going to buy Bitcoin. That's still intense. Metaplanet also took quite a hit here. Today, a lot of people are now saying, okay, what's going on here? We can see that the treasury companies are currently having a hard time in some cases. But there's also a statement here from Eric Trump, and I think that's pretty new. So, it was posted here 10 hours ago. It looks like it's new. It could also be that it's old and just got reposted.
To all the Metaplanet shareholders, to my friend Simon, it's an honor to be on this journey with you. I believe in what we're doing. I believe in Bitcoin so much. I believe in the era of cryptocurrencies and the financial revolution that's really to come. There's no question we're on the forefront of it. There's so many exciting things that are happening all over the world. And I'm so excited to be part of the journey.
So, he believes in everything. So, he believes in Bitcoin here. He believes in Metaplanet. He believes in the whole journey. And he's happy to be part of it. And he also posted yesterday, like, hey, buy the dips here. Or maybe he posted that the day before yesterday. I mean, since then, Bitcoin prices have gone up here. But a lot of people have criticized him, because the last time he said buy the dips, the Bitcoin price actually dropped sharply at first. After that, of course, it went back up. But now a lot of people are accusing him of insider manipulation or something like that. Eric Trump is also involved here with Metaplanet. We have Trump Media here, who have now confirmed that they bought 2 billion in Bitcoin. I think that was already the case before. Confirmed. But now the reports are coming out here. Basically, it's now confirmed. We see that global debt is exploding here. We're seeing more and more articles reporting on this now. Here, global debt explosion. Governments are stumbling into the next financial crisis. And that's exactly what we fix with Bitcoin, because here we have rising interest rates, falling revenues, and a growing appetite for debt. Worldwide, governments are once again digging deep into the credit coffers, despite record deficits and crisis warnings. The US is heading toward a debt level of 186%. Germany is planning to borrow billions, and experts are warning the next financial crisis is already programmed. And this news fits right in as well. Here, Trump could be destroyed. Distribution of money from terrorists said here that he wants to redistribute money that comes from the cells here. A report here from 4.8. The Cudi. Distribution or dividend to the people of our country. And what he's saying here is nothing other than how the helicopter money is planned here. That he wants to distribute helicopter money here. That means he's just handing out money to people here. Like with a watering can, bam, cash, cash, cash. And of course, that leads to inflation being driven up, with the money supply being expanded here. And that's exactly what's happening right now. The report said that the explosion of debt is continuing to pick up speed here. And that's also what Linnault always says, the debt train isn't going to stop. And we'll take a look in a moment at exactly what Linnault has to say about Bitcoin and gold, and why this debt train will cause the price of Bitcoin to really take off. Or rather, since we're already talking about Linnault, we might as well check out what he has to say right now.
I'm more bullish on Bitcoin, and that's worked out well for the past 5 years, just because, gold's a 20 trillion plus asset, Bitcoin's a 2 trillion plus asset, and I think that Bitcoin being a 16-year-old asset, it's basically gold combined with a tech stock. It's growing into whatever total addressable market it's going to reach, whereas gold's already closer to its total addressable market. So in exchange for basically more tail risk, more volatility, Bitcoin comes with higher returns. And so on an absolute basis, I expect better Bitcoin returns than gold return.
So this is really, really interesting here. She says here, Bitcoin will definitely catch up to gold. Join it. Of course, it has similar properties to gold, but is even superior. And what's interesting, as she says here, is that gold is already very, very close to its total addressable market. So gold might be able to double, triple, or quadruple in value, but gold can't increase 100-fold anymore, because the total addressable market is already pretty much filled. With Bitcoin, it's the case that its total addressable market could potentially encompass the entire gold market. But on top of that, parts of the stock market that Bitcoin can draw from, parts of the bond market, and many, many other segments. That means the total addressable market for Bitcoin is, for example, 450 trillion, as Jack Malice says. Some go even further and say, okay, the total wealth of the world is the total addressable market for Bitcoin, which is probably a bit of an exaggeration. And even if you take a conservative approach here and don't go with Jack Malice's prediction, the total addressable market is still significant. Currently, for Bitcoin, it might be around 200 trillion, while for gold it's maybe 50 trillion or something like that. That means Bitcoin simply has much more price potential, though of course it's also at a lower price level. And that's why we can also assume that the gains in Bitcoin will be much, much bigger than the gains in gold over the next few years. And that's something that checks out here as well. Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki. He's a billionaire too, and he recently said that he wants to sell part of his gold. Or he even said at times that he wants to sell all his gold and go all in on Bitcoin. Now he's making a massive tweet. He now wants to double his Bitcoin position again. He writes here about the Bitcoin curse. He says that Bitcoin will drop again in August. Will the Bitcoin price fall below 190,000 US dollars here? So, are we going to see the crash? He says, yes, I hope so, and that's really, really important. That means, here we really see how Bitcoin investors think differently compared to Labubu investors. I told you in the last video, all those people who aren't buying Bitcoin now, but are buying Labubus instead. And here you can clearly see the difference. Robert Kiyosaki is hoping that the Bitcoin price will go down. These are the real hardcore Bitcoin investors, the ones praying, hey, hopefully there'll be another crash. Because they know, the lower the Bitcoin price, the cheaper my ticket to freedom. The lower the Bitcoin price, the cheaper my ticket to prosperity here. The lower the Bitcoin price, the more I can take my share of the pie. But Labubu investors think the other way around. They think, oh, hopefully the Bitcoin price will go up really, really fast, or they don't have any Bitcoin at all. So it's one or the other. And yeah, once the bags are loaded, then I get it. But that's exactly the point, that people are getting involved with Labubus instead of with Bitcoin. Everyone who hasn't seen it yet, go watch my last video. I talked about why people are now getting into this history thing. Okay, not because of historical hysteria, but after Labubus, after some game figures, they're trying to secure these game figures here because apparently there's some kind of limit. Of course, that's just an artificial limit. And on the other hand, people are completely overlooking Bitcoin, which is absolutely limited. Robert Kiyosaki then talks about how he had a massive meeting and so on, with lots of Bitcoin experts. And he says here, if the Bitcoin August curse hits and Bitcoin crashes, I'm ready to double my position today. Check this out. He wrote it here. The problem isn't Bitcoin. The real problem is our trillion-dollar debt and the incompetent doctors running the swamp of the Fed and our Treasury Department. The Bitcoin August crash will make most Bitcoin investors here richer. That means be careful. That's simply the fundamental understanding that you need to have here. Dips and pullbacks aren't problems. It's all just part of it here. Buying opportunities. The Coinbase CEO was actually invited here to one of the biggest podcasts in the world. And he explains very, very well here why Bitcoin, just like Linalt explained, will overtake gold. And Bitcoin here is probably the best store of value in the world.
If you had like different purities of metals and like, oh, is this one diluted a little bit, or like, are they hiding some lead in there? So yeah, I think you could think of Bitcoin as like a digital gold. And it has some of the best properties of gold, but some of the ones that gold doesn't have too, like the portability and subdivisibility, the programmability too. I would say you can use it in different set up different contracts with it and things like that. So that's kind of what money is to me. It's intended to be a medium of exchange. And I think crypto is really providing a better alternative on that dimension.
It is indeed. Of course, here a very, very good medium of exchange, a very, very good form of money. He also sees it here as a means of payment. A lot of people still don't see it that way, that Bitcoin is also a good means of payment. And he also talks about the advantages here, that it has over Bitcoin compared to gold, so that it's simply durable. And of course, gold too, but that it's just easier to transport. Of course, we could also talk about scarcity. It's even scarcer here. Gold. And gold, of course, also has its place. And gold is certainly a legitimate asset that you can hold just like Bitcoin. I think that's the much more important thing to understand. It's not about gold or Bitcoin here, but rather that the fiat system thrives on fear. And that means if you're afraid here, then you look for security. I even tweeted about that earlier. Here, the one who is afraid seeks security. And when you look for security, someone shows up, and they offer you chains and sell them to you as protection. And that could be, for example, banks, it could be institutions, it could be the state, and so on. They come along and say to you, hey, here you have protection, because you're afraid. So then comes the protection. It's sold to you, but these are actually chains. And that could be CBDC. It could be a bank account, and so on and so forth. And you can use all of that, but you just have to be aware of the consequences. And Bitcoin breaks these chains. And with them, of course, also the fear. And that's why I always say, right now, the most radical thing you can do these days is to be happy, be joyful, be in harmony, be content with yourself, be grateful. That's honestly the most radical thing you can do. Bitcoin can, of course, be a tool that helps you here, that gives you financial stability. But it's not the only tool. We have to be clear about that too. Bitcoin isn't some kind of cure-all or anything like that. Just because you have Bitcoin now doesn't mean you've solved the fundamental human or mental issues. Those problems or anything like that aren't just fixed. But the most radical thing you can do is be in harmony with yourself, be happy, be joyful. So if you still want to buy Bitcoin, I'll put a link for you below too. 21 Bitcoin. Here you can buy Bitcoin very easily, safely, and simply. And with the code Bitcoin, you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. That's an absolute recommendation. Definitely check it out. I'll put the link for you below. If you want to buy Bitcoin, make sure to check it out there. And I'll see you then.